Welcome everyone. I'm Tracy Fitzpatrick and I'll be your moderator today. Thank you so much for joining us here at Netcom Learning, a market leader in promoting lifelong learning, training, and talent development solutions. We are very excited to host today's event, AWS Discovery Day, Introduction to Prompt Engineering. Presenting today's topic is Robert Hallis. Robert is a dedicated software professional with demonstrated results in the creation of mission-critical enterprise applications for a variety of clients. He possesses 10 years of experience and has given hands-on technical solutions with a verified track record of designing and implementing secure, reliable, scalable, highly available, fault-tolerant, mission-critical enterprise applications. His key focus areas are on AWS, solution architecture, integration and deployment, and cloud migration. Being a highly motivated and performance-driven software professional, he's the best fit for all types of learners, including the novice as well as experienced professionals. Now, please bear in mind that this is an overview of a very robust topic. We offer a collection of technical and business courses that can be tailored to your specific requirements. If you are interested in a further discussion, you can make an appointment with our learning consultants through our website at netcomlearning.com. Today's session is also being recorded, so you'll get free access to the recording in the next 24 hours via email. Netcom Learning helps customers build innovative learning organizations by achieving a smarter workforce, adapting to change, and driving growth. We do this with a broad catalog of offerings, developing customized learning plans, and our global delivery capabilities. Since 1998, we have been empowering organizations with our managed learning services to help them reach optimal performance results and address challenges. We do have 9 practice areas in which we specialize. They encompass people, process, and technology training. Today's presentation is from the Data and AI practice area. Netcom Learning offers a comprehensive training portfolio of courses for the topic being covered today. Our upcoming classes include various trainings on the given courses. You can also access a variety of marketing assets, such as the free training and blogs, by clicking on the available event handout. These offerings can be found with a simple search on our website at netcomlearning.com. In today's session, you'll learn how to create and optimize prompts for a variety of generative AI models on AWS using fundamental concepts of prompt engineering. Whether you're a seasoned AI enthusiast or just stepping into the realm of artificial intelligence, this session is apt for all interested in learning about AWS, Gen AI, and prompt engineering. And now I would like to give you a quick overview of the logistics before we get started. To begin with, you do have the option to view in full screen by clicking on the full screen button on the right side of the GoToWebinar viewer. Simply hit the escape key to exit the full screen. Everyone has been muted except for our presenters. Feel free to submit any questions you have for the presenters here in the questions pane, and we will address them at the end of the session. And to get the best out of today's events, we've included the slides, courses we talk about, and marketing assets in the handouts section of your GoToWebinar viewer. You may refer to them at any time to get a better understanding of today's topic. And we do realize that some of you may have to leave early and want to let you know that as you do leave the session today, you will be presented with a short survey. We would like to request for you to take a quick moment to participate in that survey. Your feedback really helps us understand your learning experience and improve our future sessions for you. The survey answers are measured on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 representing outstanding and 1 representing poor. And now I'd like to pass this over to our trainer to present today's topic. Hey, Robert, thank you so much for joining us today.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to AWS Discovery Day, where we are going to talk about prompt engineering. On behalf of Netcom Learning, I would like to welcome you guys to this class. My name is My name is Rob Hales. I am a authorized Amazon instructor as well as a Microsoft and Google certified instructor, and I do work with AI certs as well. I am reaching you from Dallas, Texas, so it is a beautiful morning here. I've been teaching from 2019 and have been working with Netcom this year, so very happy to be with everybody here today and excited that you guys are here and interested in learning more about prompt engineering. So today we're going to be talking about prompt engineering. What is prompt engineering? How can I work with prompts or work with AI through my prompts? And we want to ensure that you guys have an understanding first and foremost, well, what is this AI that we're working with? What is the history of AI? And how am I going to utilize these resources in my business? My goal as the instructor here today is I want you to know, how can I use AI for my company? The question I want you guys to continually ask throughout this entire presentation and through all presentations is, with them, what's in it for me? And so to help with that, I'd like to introduce our our case study, which is Any Company. Excuse me. So Any Company Inc. is a retail service company that is based in New York City, New York, in the United States. They are a cloud native company, so they're very tech savvy, they're very progressive, and want to try the latest and greatest technologies. And they're looking to incorporate AI and potentially Amazon Q and Amazon Bedrock into their environment. So throughout this course, we're going to see how any company is going to be able to utilize prompt engineering, and we're going to see how they're going to be able to work with prompt engineering in their retail sales environment. All right, so now that we understand the case study, let's talk a little bit about AI. And so when we look at AI, it seems like it popped up just yesterday. It seems like a relatively new and scary topic, but AI has been around since the 50s, where we started with John McCarthy talking about artificial intelligence. And from that, we saw lots of depictions of robots and artificial intelligence from hit series like The Jetsons. We saw it in Star Trek and in Star Wars and a plethora of other very popular sci-fi media. And so when we look at the early days of AI in the real world, we started building computer programs and we were teaching computers how to do more and more advanced things, to the point where we were able to land a man on the moon using programs and punch cards. Now, of course, would we look at that as artificial intelligence today? No, no, that was beyond infancy. And so in 1997, through years of advancements and research and study, IBM created Deep Blue. And Deep Blue was a computer, and its job was it played chess. And it played chess so well that it was able to defeat the chess master of the grandmaster of the world, Gary Kasparov. And he was able, or excuse me, Deep Blue was able to beat him in a chess match, showing that AI could not just do basic computations, but it could think complexly enough to play chess. Now, there was a little bit of a freeze for a while, and we saw developments a little bit more slowly through AI. But then when we hit the 2010s, we started working towards deeper machine learning. And so we started developing new applications and devices that could detect images, that could detect text, and we started incorporating it. And in 2014, Amazon came out with a new smart assistant that we all know and love called Alexa. And Alexa was put on the Echo devices, and we still use it today. And from there, 10 years later, we went from having these assistants and being able to have these machine learning models to creating a generative AI solution called Amazon Q, released to the public just a few weeks before today's class. And so we have moved leaps and bounds from punch cards and basic computer programming with giant computers that took up the size of a room to we now have AI that has passed the Turing test that is able to communicate at a natural human level. And today we're going to talk about how we can interact with that machinery, how we can work with it on a daily basis. Now, with prompt engineering, what we're doing is we are asking a computer to do something, but we're doing it in natural language. So you can talk to your computer and say, hey, can you please do this? Or write an email or create an image. And it knows, oh, based off of the context of what you said from all my training, I know that you're looking for blank. Now, for those of you who have studied a language, studying another language is hard. And so computers also need help. They need help breaking down these very complex phrases, whether they are in any human natural language. And so how do we do this? How do we break down the language? Do we break down the words and use the roots, or how do we get these phrases, and how do we know how much to process and how much processing power we'll need? To help with that, there is a process called tokenization. Now, tokenization, basically we're taking a word. Let's say I'll use my favorite word, Texas, being from Texas. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take that word Texas, or a phrase like Texas is great, and we're going to break it into a sequence. And we're going to change it into different characters so the computer can understand it a little bit better. So the AI ML models that we have are trained to look at these different tokens and say, okay, based off of this token behavior, this token pattern, we think this will come next. And it's more than like when you're on your cell phone and you're typing on your cell phone and you get those silly middle predictions. No. This is going beyond that. This is, okay, what do we naturally say? Not what is most likely to be said, like what word follows the. But when people say Texas is, well, maybe there's an 89% chance that they're going to say great instead of what's the word that people say after is. So when we're working with tokenization, this is how we're gapping that bridge between natural human language that we are communicating today on versus having to write in programming languages or binary or anything like that. Tokenization is that way of bridging that gap. Okay, now let's look at prompt engineering. So when we look at prompt engineering, our goal with it is we are asking a computer, we're asking a model to perform a task based out of our human input in a natural way. So before, if you're working with HTML, you know that you have to work with like a header, and you have to add your body, and you have to close the header, you have to close the body. There's a lot that goes into it, a lot of nuance that we have to communicate. If we're using Python, right, we have ways that we can make notes to ourselves through like things like comments. And with prompt engineering, we don't need to memorize that. We can use what we know. And so we speak, or realistically type, in a very natural sense. Again, like, can you create an image of a spaceship flying to the moon? And that text is broken up, tokenized, and then processed by our machine learning model, and then it creates an image of a space shuttle going to the moon. So this allows us to communicate. But with prompt engineering, there's more. It's more than just sending the request. There's also, prompt engineering allows us, people who have little to no experience in coding, to train the AI system to do exactly what we want. If you remember the early days of working with Alexa, it's hard. It didn't always understand what we meant, or it didn't understand sarcasm. It didn't understand accents. If you didn't have a neutral American accent or a neutral British accent, it struggled to understand you. And so prompt engineering is a way that we can get past all of that. It can understand what we want, but if it doesn't, we can say, okay, here's exactly what I'm looking for. Here's exactly what I want to happen. These are the results I'm looking for. So we're going to talk a lot more about how we're going to prompt engineer. But before we can do that, we have to learn about the models themselves, right? So we're going to talk about the difference between a foundational and a large language model, what those are, what those mean, why I, as any company, would want to choose one over the other. So let's get started. So this here is Amazon Bedrock. Amazon Bedrock is a AWS tool that allows us to train and use our own AI resources. And so what we're going to do is, Bedrock has a plethora of foundational models that we see here on the screen. We see Jurassic, Titan, Claude. There is also Anthropic that was recently announced back in reInvent, so very exciting. And of course, Llama 3 by Meta. And so there are a lot of great tools out there, great foundational models. But what are these? Well, a foundational model is something that it's a pre-trained, instead of saying the word model, I'm going to say program. And so with this program, it has been trained to answer responses in a certain way. So if we were, and we'll do this in a demonstration at the end of this, but when we're working with AI, we can have it do various things. Foundational models tend to be more flexible. They're not as finely tuned, but they're more general. And so we can use it to do things like process sounds, or from text, create sounds. We can have it create images from text. We can have it process more than just natural typed language. And so when we're working with a foundational model, it's a way of having something, a fairly broad stroke with AI, and being able to have it be a very eclectic, almost like a Swiss Army knife kind of tool, where it can do a lot of things at a high level. Now, this is great, but what if I need something that is just almost perfect with understanding languages? And I just want to focus on something that can work with humans and talk with humans and do it in such a way that it seems like a human is talking back. That's where my large language model comes in. So my large language model is actually just a subset of foundational models. So when we saw those previous models, right, like Titan, like if you're working with Anthropic or if you're working with any major foundational model, there are versions that are large language models. For example, if I was using GPT-3, that's a foundational model, very flexible, very broad. The large language model would be GPT 3.5, where it is highly trained, more fine tuned, and the purpose for it is to focus on the just utilizing our natural language processing. We're just working on natural language. Okay, so at this point, we know a little bit about the history of AI. We know how AI kind of works. Again, holding this at a very high level. And we've talked about the different types of models, right? Foundational versus large language. So now is when we're going to get into the good part. The reason we are all here. Prompt engineering. All right. Now, we talked a little bit about what prompt engineering is. Remember that question I asked you to ask throughout this class? What's in it for me? Why do I need prompt engineering? If you want to work with AI tools, if you want to be able to get good, consistent results, if you are looking to decrease, right, how much time we're spending on tasks by up to 40%, you need to know prompt engineering. If you don't care, if AI is only a fun tool, prompt engineering may not be as important. But if you want consistent results, you want better results, you're not looking for those silly AI images that look goofy, or you're not looking for answers that are off the wall crazy, then you need prompt engineering. All right, great. So I need prompt engineering. Rob, help me with my prompt engineering. I can happily do that. So when working with prompt engineering, there are 5 steps we want to take. All right. So as we're building a prompt, we want to ensure that we have a persona, an objective or a task. We want to set an audience. We want to place context, excuse me, and we want to make sure that we specify exactly what we need. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to take all 5 of these different pieces of a good prompt, and we're going to look at them together, and then we're going to see an example prompt, and we're going to break it down and look at it piece by piece. Let's get started with persona. So when we're creating our AI, and we're doing our prompt engineering, I want you to think and imagine you are working with a live human being. If I say to you, make me a picture of a dog, what comes to your mind? Are you going to create a golden retriever, an Australian Kelpie? Are you going to draw just a big oval with a little tail and a little oval with a triangle on it to make a little generic puppy dog? Are you going to create a favorite character from a TV show or movie? Are you going to make the dog look more like a cartoon? Is it going to be more realistic? I don't know, right? Because it was very broad. We didn't say who we want the AI to be. If I'm saying I want AI to write me an email, great. Well, who are you? Who's writing the email? Because that's going to change. If we're going to have a certain style or inflection, the AI doesn't know what it is, what its position is. So to focus that, we want to create a persona. And so you can say, you are a project manager of a major company. You are like Stephen King creating scary novels. You are an American, or you are British, Australian, Indian, right? And it lets the AI know, okay, cool, I'm going to be pulling from this cultural or work environment. Okay, great. So the AI now knows who it is. And of course, naturally, the next step is going to be the task. What do we want the AI to do? And you need to figure out how you want to ask. It is always better when you're creating your objective to be not just direct, but specific. So be very specific in what you're asking for in your objective or in your task. So you can say, we're gonna build now. I'm a project manager. I need you to write an email, right? Because that's different than a memo. That's different than a note. That's different than a. Can you send a quick message? Because all of these have different connotations. So be very careful. Just like, again, if you go up to a person and say, write an email, okay, make sure that they know, oh, okay, I'm writing an email from your perspective, and I'm writing an email, and it needs to be in the draft of an email, not in the draft of a letter, or I can't just say, write to this person. How? So we have a persona, we have an objective. Great. The next thing we need is, who is our audience? Now, sometimes the audience is going to be assumed. Because if I say, hey, AI, you are a program developer and I need you to write a Terraform template creating XYZ resources, then the audience is me. It's just code. But in other cases, going on with the email, we need to know who we're writing to. Because if I tell my secretary, or if you tell your coworker, hey, can you write an email saying that lunch is tomorrow? Well, I'm going to write that email very differently if I'm writing a coworker where I could say, hey, dude, we're going to go grab lunch. You want to come in? Very formal, very casual, lots of intimacy. Versus how I would write my significant other, hey, wonderful, we're going to lunch. would you like to come with, right? More endearing versus writing my boss. I'm not going to write my boss and say, hey, dude, let's go to work. No, completely unprofessional, could get me in a lot of trouble. So your audience is very important. It lets AI know what kind of tone we should implement. Now, okay, Rob, but let's say I want to write my boss, but we are casual, but I still need a little bit of formality in there. This is where our next step comes in. Our next step is context. So we have the persona, project manager. We have the objective. We are going to be writing an email. And we have the audience. It's going to be my boss this time. All right. So we're writing an email to our boss as a project manager. So this means we need, by default, we're going to have something a little bit more formal. But context sets more. It says keep it professional, but have a slightly informal tone. Right? If we're a little bit more comfortable talking to our boss, there's different ways to speak in different cultures. And so here we can set exactly what our expectation is. And so our context is going to be one of the most important aspects we set. It's going to set the tone. We can also say how long we want it, if we want it, if we want it written like it's from a sixth grader, if we want it written short, or if we want something long and flowy and beautiful, right? Context changes a lot, and changes the outcome quite a bit. Okay, great. So we are a project manager sending an email to our boss that's going to be formal and short. Wonderful. What's the email about? What are we emailing our boss regarding? And this is where we need to specify. And so when we're specifying, we need to say, you are a project manager writing an email to my boss in a formal tone, asking him to attend a meeting at 4 p.m. this upcoming Friday in in room C or whatever, right? The more specific you are, the better your results. So at this point, we have the persona, we have our our objective or task, we have our audience, we know our tone, all right? And so now we also have our specific details we wanted in our prompt. Great. Let's take a look at an example prompt and then go through it and see a response. So here is any company. Any company is sending an email to all employees in Project AWS. So here's the prompt that we put. You are a project manager of a retail firm, any company. Write an email to all employees under Project AWS. Ensure the email is formal and under 200 words. Include in the email, the break room is under construction until July 4th, and that all virtual machines must be migrated to AWS by November 9th. All right. Now, I'm hoping at this point, you're already trying to plug in where's the persona, what's the objective, and all of these things into this prompt. I want to give you guys just another quick second. Look it over. All right. So now you should have a pretty good idea of where things should be. Let's see if you got them. So here, let's go through a color-coded prompt, and we're going to list where everything is. We're going to start with the persona. The persona is the project manager. And we made it specific. We added details by saying they are the project manager of a retail firm, any company. What was the objective? To write an email. And who's our audience? All employees under Project AWS. Now, what kind of email are we sending? We're sending an email that is formal and is under 200 words. We don't want to have people writing an entire epistle or reading an entire epistle trying to understand basic resources. So, now the context. What are we writing this email about? What is this whole prompt's main objective? And so that is the break room is under construction until July 4th, and we have to migrate all of our virtual machines by November 9th. All right. So with this, we have a well-structured prompt. Let's take a look at the example outcome. And so this came directly from one of our large language models. And so we have our response. Dear Project AWS team, I hope this email finds you well. I am writing to inform you of some important updates regarding our project. Firstly, please be advised that the break room is currently under construction and will not be available until July 4th. We apologize for any inconvenience this may cause and appreciate your understanding. Secondly, it is crucial that all virtual machines are migrated to AWS by November 9th. This is critical. This is a critical deadline, and we appreciate your cooperation in ensuring that it is met. Thank you for your continued hard work and dedication to the success of Project AWS. If you have any questions or concerns, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. Best, and then put in brackets my name, project manager, any company. Look at that. Through being specific, we were able to get a very formal email. We were able to have it address the two concerns we needed, that break room's down till July 4th, and migration has to be completed by November 9th. But we gave it, if you remember, we gave it a sentence, and it gave us a paragraph of information. So in writing a 2-minute prompt, I might have saved 5 to 10 minutes of writing an email. And this is a very, very basic example. Are there other things that we can do? Absolutely. And what we can do is honestly endless. That's the beauty of prompt engineering. You are limited to, well, what the model can do and your imagination. So when we look at prompt engineering, there's a few things that we want to do and a few things we might want to avoid. So when we are creating your prompt and you're getting ready, make sure that you're specific, right? Make sure that you're using natural language. Type the way you type. You don't need to be overly formal to the AI. You don't need to be overly casual. Be comfortable. Write in a way that is comfortable to you. But again, be concise. Make sure you said what you said and you meant what you said. You need to pretend that you are speaking to a toddler almost at times, and the amount of specification. So if you have not worked with toddlers, I have a wonderful 5-year-old boy whom I love, but I can't say, put your toys away. Because if I only say, put your toys away, he will put them under his bed. He will put things in he'll put toys in the laundry basket, clearly where they are not supposed to go. But when I say, put your toys back in the toy box, that's where, oh, the room is cleaned to the manner that I was anticipating, and he now knows where all of his toys should be. You need to be very specific and concise when working with AI. So make sure that you add plenty of details. Hey Rob, uh, you have specific on there twice. I do. It's because when you're working with AI, be specific. That's why we also added the word concise and details. The more details you add, the better and more consistent your responses are going to be. And prompt engineering, the whole goal is to have a more consistent experience and not getting off the wall answers left, right, and sideways. Now, we want to avoid assuming. We do not want to make fools of ourselves or of the AI by saying, oh, yeah, the AI knows what I mean by um, a picture of a car, because it's just a car. It's obviously thinking of a 2024 Ford Ranger, right? XLT. Of course it is. No, don't assume AI knows what you mean. Again, like a toddler, be specific, be concise, avoid those vague prompts. If you type, write an email to my boss saying goodbye, it might literally just respond with, dear boss, goodbye. So make sure that you aren't vague, you are specific, and you're going to find that you're going to get much better results than what you were previously getting before. Okay. Well, that must be it, right? Woo, that was a quick 2 hours. No, 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 no. So when we're working with prompt engineering, there's different ways to write our prompts. Do we still need those 5 basic tenements, right? Do we still need that persona? Do we still need the objective? Do we still need to know the audience, context, and specify? Yes. But there's different techniques when working with prompt engineering. And so when we're working with prompt engineering, we're going to go there's others. And there's subsets of these. But we're going to go over 3 different prompt engineering examples. We're going to go over zero shot, we're going to go over few shot, and we're going to go over chain of thought. All right. Now, before we get into this, I do want to say these are all different techniques. Is there one better than another? No. But we're going to do a compare and contrast once we get a little bit closer to the end. All right. So let's get started with our first, which is zero shot prompting. All right, Rob. Cool. What does that mean? Because that sounds impossible. How do you have a zero shot? Like, what is a shot? What do you mean? So a zero shot prompt is asking AI a question with no examples. So when we created our prompt earlier, that was an example of a zero shot prompt. We went in and we said, hey, do this with this specifications. Because did we tell it what formal meant? Did we tell it what it meant to be a project manager? Did we tell it what it meant that we're writing to just other employees? No. We relied on the model's previous training. right? And in a lot of cases, this is fine and dandy. We can get the answers we're looking for using zero-shot prompting. Let's take a look at another example. So here we're going to be testing against the model's training. So we're going to ask, what is the tone from this email? And then we put in the email itself. Hey, Amelia, you did a great job at the presentation yesterday. Keep up the good work. Best wishes, Jack. All right. What do you think the tone of this is? Probably thinking that this is something positive, right? So now what we're going to do is we're going to see this prompt and we're going to see what an actual AI tool responded back with. And so in this zero prompt, we see that the tone of the email is positive and encouraging. The sender is praising Amelia for her presentation and encouraging her to continue doing a good job. Notice here, it made several assumptions we did not put in there. Number one, the tone. It saw that it was positive, great job of the presentation, and encouraging, keep up the good work. It was able to just know that from its own training. We didn't tell it that that was positive, negative, encouraging, discouraging. It knew. Now, it also makes certain assumptions, right? So we see that there was no gender breakdown in the email. It was, hey, Amelia, and best wishes, Jack. That's it. But the model recognizes Amelia as a typical female name. And so it can make assumptions like that. Whether that's good or bad, the AI model doesn't know. It just knows this is what is common. If we don't want that, well, then we need to tell it, don't do that. How do we do that? One way we can do that is with few-shot prompting. So zero shot, no training whatsoever. Few-shot prompting, however, is a little training. We're going to we're going to tell our model, hey, here's an example question, here's an example answer, here's another example question, here's another example answer. And we're going to show it how we want it to respond. So this way we can get very concise answers. And when you take the time to give examples, we call that fine tuning. So if you want to fine tune your AI model, few-shot prompting is going to be the best way. It lets everybody know, it lets the AI know for everybody that this is the way we want things done. All right, let's take a look. What does that even look like? Let's see what any company does. So here's any company's few-shot prompt example. You are a customer-facing FAQ bot. Here are some examples of how we want you to respond. So we're telling it, right? We still have a persona. We still have an audience, right? The persona is you're an FAQ bot. Your audience is going to be customers because you're customer facing. The task is you're going to be answering questions, which we're putting a little sumptuously through FAQ, but we're telling it, here's how we want you to respond. And our context and specification are actually built in to the examples we give. So let's take a look at the examples we gave it. Example 1, customer. Hi, what sales do you currently have going on? FAQ bot. Hello, value customer. please see our sales page for more info. Okay, we told it an example and we said, here's how we want you to respond. Example 2, we say, customer, do you sell Texas flags? FAQ bot. Hello, value customer. Notice a trend here. Please see our shop page for all products. Okay, we've given it 2 examples of how we wanted to respond. We then give it a third. So it's one of those, we're teaching an AI to fish. So now that you've gotten these 2 examples, we see here, do you have any sales today? Right? So if we look, it looks fairly similar to what we have here under example 1. Let's see how a real life AI tool responds to our few shot prompt. So it says, as a customer facing FAQ bot trained with few shot prompting, so it recognized what we were trying to do. It saw that we were using few shot prompting and it recognized its role. It says, okay, my persona is a customer facing FAQ bot. My response to the question, which again, very human sounding, very natural, is, do you have any sales today? Would be, hello, value customer. Please see our sales page for more info. It took our template and it put it into place. Because if we were to say respond to this with 0 shot, it could respond with anything because does it know we have a sales page? Probably not. Does it know how that we want to greet our customers as valued customers? Probably not. By using few shot prompting, we are able to guide our AI to the right place. We're able to say, this is what we want you to do. Okay. We have gone over quite a bit here. All right. And so to help with that, what I'd like to do is I want to take just a quick 5-minute break. Right? So we're going to have a quick break. And then when we get back from the break, we're going to go into our chain of thought and our prompt engineering.
Sure, we are now going to take a 5-minute break, but before we do that, we are going to launch a quick poll that we want to invite you to participate in. Doing so helps us know how we can better serve you by telling us who might be interested in more information or in taking some additional training. In addition, we have a lot more informative webinars coming up, so please go to netcomlearning.com/webinars in order to register.
All right, guys, welcome back. Whew. Hopefully, you're feeling refreshed and ready to learn a little bit more. So, we've gone over our different prompt engineering techniques. We've talked about our zero shot, our few shot, and now we're going into our third and final. This is going to be our chain of thought prompting. Chain of thought? What does that mean? Well, my chain of thought is we're not just telling the model the answer like in a few shot. In few shot, we said, here's the question, here's the answer. Why? Because we said so. And growing up, oh, hated that answer. Absolutely hated that answer. In chain of thought prompting, we are giving it a much different type of prompt. We're showing it examples and then telling it, here's how we got this answer. And we proverbially and almost literally show our homework and how we got it. Okay, Rob, that sounds a little crazy. How is that done? Let's take a look at any company. So, any company is wanting to use their AI to work with inventory. So, they created a chain of thought example. So, notice a little bit longer, but that's okay. We said, question. There are 1,300 Texan flags for sale. Because what else would you say? 20 were purchased Monday, 100 on Wednesday, and 47 on Saturday. How many flags are left in inventory? And if this sounds like a question you got in grade school, when you were in elementary school writing out those word problems, that's exactly what we're doing here with our chain of thought. So we then give it an answer, right? Because we can do the math. Okay, 1,300 minus 20 minus 100 minus, but we wanted to show where it's getting these answers. So in our example answer, we say the inventory has 1,300 to start with. We then add all the sales, 20 on Monday, 100 on Wednesday, 47 on Saturday. So that is 167. All right, so now we know we got 1,300, 167. We then subtract 167 from 1,300. 1,300 minus 167. We were very specific. Hey, look, this is the end math that we're looking to deal with. The answer is 1,133. We've given it how we want it done. And we would call this like a one shot, right? A one shot chain of thought because we gave it a singular example of what we wanted. Then we gave it a question for it to answer. There is 1,337 snowshoes in the inventory. They sold 20 on Monday, 20 on Tuesday, 40 on Thursday, and 60 on Friday. How many snowshoes are left in the inventory? This is the exact prompt we gave it, and its response, as a model trained with chain of thought prompting, okay, it recognized that we're utilizing chain of thought. My response to the question, how many snowshoes are left in the inventory, would be the inventory has 1,337 snowshoes to start with. We then add all the sales, 20 on Monday, 20 on Tuesday, 40 on Thursday, 60 on Saturday. So that is 140. We then subtract 140 from 1,337. 1,337 minus 140. The answer is 1,197 snowshoes left in the inventory. So now, with this, we can continue asking, and it's going to show us exactly what we're looking for. We can build up a sales sheet, and it can pull from that and now give us exactly the answers we're looking for. We can continue going, and they'll continue to give us chain of thought responses. So this is extremely useful if you're looking for something that might be more complex. We give a fairly simple answer, but if you're looking to do something more complex, if you're looking for that chain of thought, why one led to the other, chain of thought prompt engineering is great. Now, I want you guys to think about these three models. Okay? Our zero shot, view shot, and chain of thought. Did they produce the same answers? Yeah. They produced a varying amount of answers. Well, Robert, which one should I use then? It's one of those answers. It depends. So if you need something quick and easy, then we can do a zero shot prompt. It will more than likely provide what we want. There could be some variables we wanted or didn't want, but for the most part, zero prompt works for very short question and answers. If we're looking to have our AI do a certain job, like let's say we wanted to fine tune a foundational model to be a chatbot, view shot prompting is perfect. Now, again, if we're looking to see how we got our answers, chain of thought prompting is going to be the best way to do that. So as you go out and you're experimenting, I want you to think, how can I prompt better? How can I speak with AI and get the answers I'm looking for? Because at the end of the day, what's the WIFM? What's in it for me? What's in it for you is getting a tool that you know how to use and you know how to use well. Just like when Google first came out, we had to kind of change how we did research, how we studied, how we looked things up to best go to our, Google searches. We have to adjust our thoughts and how we talk to our AI because AI is a lot more user friendly. Again, we can talk to it in a natural language as we are currently doing right now. All right. So with that, that's going to bring us to the end of our module here. And so when any company now has a much better understanding of AI. It understands how AI works generally. And then we talked about how we can talk to it through prompt engineering and the different ways we can engineer, or the different techniques we can use for our prompt engineering. So now any company is going to have a much better time and a much more productive time in its utilization of its Gen AI tools. And I hope in turn you have the same understanding. So to repeat some do's and don'ts, right? Do be clear and concise. All right. Make sure we have relevant examples as we see fit. Right? Don't use complicated or unclear language. The more ambiguous you are, the more ambiguous your answer is going to be. All right. And we don't want to use absolutes or overgeneralize. If we overgeneralize or create absolutes, because there's almost exceptions to everything, it can lead to bias and dirty information or bad information, excuse me, for your AI model to use. All right. So I'm going to pass through these knowledge checks, correct? So we are now going to go into our demo. So with us today, we are, again, this is an AWS Discovery Day. So of course, we're going to head over to the AWS console. All right. And so for those of you who this might be your first time in AWS, welcome. AWS is Amazon Web Services. They are a great cloud provider. If you would like to learn more about AWS and how AWS works and operates, please contact any of us here at Netcom Learning, and we have plenty of wonderful classes for you to attend, anywhere from basic classes to get you to understand what AWS is to advanced professional classes and specialty classes for those of you who've been working with AWS or want to learn more about specific pieces of AWS. Okay, with that being said, we are going to head over to two different tools. The first one is Amazon Bedrock. All right. If you remember from earlier, Amazon Bedrock is a fully managed service. All right. This is going to use foundational models, and we get to pick which one we want so we can create our own generative AI applications. This is not meant for just a quick, well, this is not meant to just say, okay, cool, we're going to use this model and as is. There's some training and fine tuning you'll have to do. There's going to be ways to incorporate it into your own environment. But this is, as the name implies, the bedrock. This is where we're going to start our foundation. So we're going to click Get Started. All right, and we're just going to ignore that because we already have our model that we want. Notice there are lots of different models available. All right, so we're going to look at Titan. And so, we see that Titan, this is AWS's offering. We can go through and look at the different Titans and see what they do, how well they do it, and some of their limitations. Okay, so with that, we're going to come up here to the playground. All right, and so we're using the G1 Express, right? And actually, we're going to change this actually to the Premier, right? And so now what we're going to do is we are going to write an example prompt. All right, so with this, we're going to say, you are a program developer. Create a Terraform template to create an EC2 instance in US East, 1. So in this, we're giving it a very basic response. Are we going to go super deep in the depth right now? No, we just want to see how it runs. So we're going to run this program. And here we see it's creating a Terraform template for us. It showed us the provider, the region, and it created a basic EC2 instance. Notice, was I specific? No. And so it picked what type of instance I wanted to create. And it gave it its own tags, and it left a lot up to, or I left a lot up to the AI to work with. And so here we see that it is able to create that response. And the great thing about utilizing Bedrock is it's going to show you how long it took, how many tokens, because remember, we're breaking things apart and making them tokenization. And we saw that it took 23 tokens to create, and the output was 282 tokens. All right, and this will affect cost, but we're keeping these fairly minimal because we're in a playground. We don't want to overwhelm. Right. So we're going to try another task for our Titan Text G1. We're going to say you are Shakespeare, and you are writing a sonnet about how great prompt engineering is. Okay, so we told it who it is. It's Shakespeare. The audience is included. It's me. The objective is going to be writing a sonnet, and our context and is the sonnet, and our specify is we wanted to talk about how great prompt engineering is. So we're going to click run. And there we go. In Quill's embrace, a sonnet I shall write on prompt engineering's wondrous might. Beautiful, poetic. We went from code to a sonnet. So when you're utilizing your AI models, when we prompt engineer, the more details, the better we get. So if I were to say the same thing, I'm going to just, in fact, copy paste this. And we're going to make it very, very, very bland. We get a sonnet. Not much. It tells me what a sonnet is, but it didn't really create a new sonnet. Notice the quality of it deteriorates the less. But if we go the opposite direction, let's say we're going to write a sonnet about Texas and the gas station piece and how wonderful they can be. So here we gave it more examples, and it made a one. I'm trying to get this. There we go. So you can see all of it. But as we read this, right, look at the difference between this beautiful sonnet about Buc-ee's in Texas and this sonnet. Notice this sonnet is smaller. It's more vague, whereas this sonnet is much more detail oriented, and it's exactly what we were looking for. All right, so as we're going through our prompt engineering, it's important to remember the more details we have, the better our responses are going to be. And with that, thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you guys so much for learning about AWS. And again, if you have questions, please feel free to let me know. But right now, we're going to take any questions. What questions do you have right now?
Thank you, Robert. That was most informative. I know everyone is looking forward to the Q&A session, so go ahead and start putting your questions into the questions panel. And now I'd like to give the presentation rights over to Remy, our vendor manager, to introduce our promotions and webinar-related courses.
Thank you, Tracy. And I believe everyone must have learned something new today or would have been able to brush up their skills around the fundamentals of AWS Cloud. I would quickly like to take you through some of our hand-picked resources, which we think will immensely help in accelerating your AWS cloud scaling journey. Well, this document here of sharing on my screen, this has been shared with you all in the handout section of GoToWebinar panel. You can download this document and access all the resources and browse all the offerings we have curated for you. So first up here is the list of our recommended courses, which we feel will best suit your learning journey after attending our masterclass. All these courses are hyperlinked. Feel free to go through them post-event and check out the course descriptions, prerequisites, and the value it can add to you and your team's skill sets. Additionally, we have curated a blend of resources, including our upcoming and on-demand events as well as informative and educational blogs. You can make the most of these resources to gain extensive knowledge on the AWS topics they cover. Next up, I am thrilled to introduce the AWS Skill Builder, a dynamic learning center featuring over 600 digital courses crafted by AWS experts. I'm sure most of you must be aware of AWS Skill Builder. What is unique about this platform are the engaging game-based learning experiences. So through AWS Cloud Quest and team-based competitions on AWS Jam events. If you're hearing these terms, Cloud Quest and Jam events for the first time, I would highly recommend you click on this button and you go to our AWS Skill Builder page. I'm sure you will be amazed to see what all the Skill Builder has to offer. They have set off these gaming experiences in practical real world scenarios, which makes it so easy to understand concepts, technology, and processes. And it makes it so interesting for the learner. And for organizations, it saves a lot of time on employee skilling and ultimately enhancing the efficiency and productivity. As someone at Netcom who values continuous learning, I'm confident that AWS Skill Builder will be a game changer for any organization looking to upskill their workforce on AWS technologies. I encourage you to explore the diverse range of digital courses and experiences it offers. You can simply, as I said, click on this button right here, learn more, and you can explore more about the Skill Builder and the pricing aspect of this. Moving on to the next offering. Our free AWS e-learning courses follow a self-paced training model wherein you get the liberty of accessing extensive course-related videos that are delivered by the AWS subject matter experts on the go. So these videos cover the availability on the device of your choice, so you can access them from your laptop, your tablet, or from your phone as well. There are more than 280 videos covering various AWS topics explained in a very easy to comprehend language. You can simply sign up for free, watch these videos, and make the most out of them. Also, here I would like to inform you that this session is being recorded. So, in case you want to refer back to any of the topics that the trainer might have covered in today's session, we will be sharing the recording link with you through emails, and also you can access it here by clicking on this button. So you have to download this handout for that. And then if you want to revisit any topic, you can just simply click on the access recording and you can revisit the session and learn at your own pace. Now, apart from our virtual sessions, you can also catch the relevant updates related to IT and business trainings on our social media handles. So please feel free to follow us on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for all the latest updates. Our official pages and channels are linked here on the icons. Finally, if you have any suggestions regarding the topics you would like us to cover in our upcoming webinars and masterclasses, please don't hesitate to send us a direct message, or you can leave a comment on our social media posts, or you can just simply email us at info@netcomlearning.com. We would definitely try to come up with the sessions on your suggested topics. Thank you once again for joining us today. Over to you, Tracy.
Thanks so much for guiding us through that information, Remy. And now we're going to go ahead and jump right into our question and answer session. First question we have for today is, In practical deployments, how can we gather user feedback to improve prompt engineering models over time?
That is a great question. When we want to gather feedback about our prompt engineering models over time, uh, what we can do is, especially if we're looking for like how we can improve the responses, we can add to our AI models a thumbs up or thumbs down or I like or didn't like kind of a button. So that way we can get user feedback and then we can go back and train the model ourselves to answer more concisely and answer more of what we're looking for. So that is a great question.
Next question is from Laura, and she's asking, how can we approach fine-tuning prompt engineering models for specific use cases or domains? And what considerations are important when adapting pre-trained models to new tasks or data sets?
All right. So fine tuning is a very important piece of working with any type of model. And so when we're going to work with our model, first we need to make sure that we pick the right model. So if we're looking for something that is going to be like a chatbot, then there are better AI models for it. If we're looking for something more precise and more factual, there's a model for that. If we're looking for something that's going to be more flowy and poetic, there's models for that. And so when you're looking at bringing in a new pre-trained model, you definitely want to consider what you're going to use that for. Now, the specifics, like, okay, how am I going to use it for my domain? Um, and for my specific use cases, that's going to take some fine tuning, but make sure that you find a model that relates closest to you as possible. It's kind of like when you buy a car. If you have to think of how am I going to use this car? Am I traveling in the city? Well, then I'm probably going to want a much smaller, fuel efficient car. Might even want something electric, right? Reduce noise pollution, smaller, and easier to get around the city. But if I'm using it to go camping in the woods every weekend, then I might want something closer to a pickup truck or an SUV that can handle it. Same with my models. Again, we definitely want to make sure that we're picking the model that does the right job for us, not just the one that looks the coolest or may have the most name recognition. So that is a great question.
Looks like we have time to take one last question. Is there any proper course or certification in AWS that we can do for prompt engineering?
That is a good question about our courses directly relating to AI. There are AWS courses that are available. As far as certification, there is the AIML, specialty certification. But if you're looking specifically for something like prompt engineering, there are some courses coming out. But if you go to Netcom Learning does have a lot of great courses out there to help you with prompt engineering, and we can get you into the right atmosphere and start you with something like AI Certs, which is a company that works solely with AI and is cloud agnostic. And then we can take that prompt engineering skills and then translate them into how we can utilize them in a cloud environment like AWS. So, fantastic question. Thank you, guys.
Once again, I want to remind you that as you leave this session today, you will be presented with a short survey. We would like to request for you to help us by taking a quick moment to participate in that survey. Your feedback really helps us understand your learning experience as we are constantly looking at how we can improve our future sessions. The survey answers are measured on a scale of 1 to 5. 5 representing outstanding, and 1 representing poor. We want to thank all of you for joining us today, and if you do come up with any additional questions, feel free to send them to webinar@netcomlearning.com at any time. We hope that you found today's webinar informative, and we look forward to seeing you back here with us soon. Feel free to tell your friends and colleagues about our webinars and other courses. Have a great day, everyone.